Welcome back. We're counting down my top 30 favorite films.
You keep saying you got something for me.
Number 20, Full Metal Jacket. Stanley Kubrick was definitely one of those directors whose films were stronger in artistic quality than on actual story. Some people may not like 2001 or The Shining, but no matter who you are, you gotta love Full Metal Jacket.
I don't know, but I've been told. Eskimo pussy is mighty cold.
It's both a funny and horrifying film that shows the dehumanizing effects of war. The first half is boot camp, the second half is the war in Vietnam. R. Lee Ermey is friggin' awesome as the drill sergeant.
How tall are you, Private?
Sir, 5'9", sir.
5'9". I didn't know they stacked shit that high.
And Vincent D'Onofrio is great as Private Pyle, who loses his mind.
I am in a world of shit.
Many people feel that after the boot camp scenes, the movie goes downhill. But I think the second half is still good if you give it a chance.
Me want sucky.
Sucky, funky, smoke cigarette in a pushy.
Number 19, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The last and best of the Dollars trilogy by Sergio Leone. Right off the bat, we have three great characters. Lee Van Cleef as the ruthless bounty hunter Angel Eyes, Clint Eastwood as the calm and cool Blondie, also known as the man with no name, and best of all, Eli Wallach as the dirty, rotten, shit-talking scoundrel Tuco.
Whoever double-crosses me and leaves me alive, he understands nothing about Tuco. Nothing.
I love this fucking bastard. Blondie and Tuco hate each other's guts. But they need to work together to find a stash of gold that's buried in a cemetery grave. Tuco knows the name of the cemetery, Blondie knows the name of the grave, but neither one of them's telling. Along the way, they have Angel Eyes watching over them, who also wants the gold. It all leads to a suspenseful finale with the three of them facing off. The music by Ennio Morricone is so amazing that Metallica uses it to open all their concerts. It's a masterpiece of epic proportions that depicts a savage world where everybody's a swindler and only the quickest survive. Number 18, The Sword and the Stone. My favorite of the Disney animated features. It happens to be the last one released while Walt Disney was still alive. I don't know what it is, this movie just brings a smile to my face. It's an underdog story about a young boy named Arthur who gets bossed around by his foster father and brother, not realizing that he would become the future King Arthur. He befriends a wizard named Merlin and a talking owl named Archimedes.
Huh? Who?
Merlin becomes Arthur's mentor and helps him rise up and become what he needs to be.
King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table.
Round table?
Oh, would you rather have a square one?
The musical scenes are great, and I love the characters. Arthur is so innocent and pure, and Merlin and Archimedes are hysterical. The only thing it lacks is a main villain, although there is a last-minute addition, Madame Mim, a crazy witch who's an old rival of Merlin's. In the end, they have a spectacular wizard's duel, which is one of the highlights of the film. All around, it's a fun time. Number 17, Rear Window. Some more Hitchcock for you. Jimmy Stewart plays a photographer who's recovering from a broken leg. He's so bored he spends a lot of time staring out his window and begins to suspect that one of his neighbors committed murder. He has an amazingly beautiful girlfriend played by Grace Kelly who he thinks is too perfect for him. He's into adventure while she's into fashion.
Did you ever try to keep warm on a C-54 at 15,000 feet, 20 degrees below zero?
Oh, I do it all the time, whenever I have a few minutes after lunch.
But they work together on solving the mystery and settle their differences. Nothing like a murder to help a relationship. It's Hitchcock's subtle, dark humor. Jimmy Stewart, who's in a lot of Hitchcock films, gives his usual performance. That's natural and full of nervous energy.
I've seen bickering and family quarrels and mysterious trips at night, and knives and saws and ropes, and now since last evening, not a sign of the wife. All right, now you tell me where she is.
You see everything through his eyes and feel like you're in his spot, spying on the neighbor. It's brilliantly photographed and edited, nothing less than the work of a master. Number 16, First Blood. First Blood is not about how many things you can blow up in an hour and a half. It's about the character. John Rambo is an army soldier who returns from the war to find that he has no friends left. He wanders into a town where he meets a cop that gives him a hard time.
We don't want guys like you in this town.
It starts out as just a small feud, but evolves into a full-out war with the entire police force against one man. It's not your usual good guy versus bad guy scenario.
Are you telling me that 200 men against your boy is a no-win situation for us?
You send that many, don't forget one thing.
What?
A good supply of body bags.
Rather than brute force, Rambo goes into stealth mode, sets traps, and uses different survival tactics. It's awesome.
Don't push it, I'll give you a war you won't believe.
Sylvester Stallone does a great job, and at the end, gives the most dramatic monologue of his career.
And I come back to the world, and I see all those maggots at the airport, protesting me, spitting, calling me baby killer and all kinds of vile crap.
It's not often you see an action star break down and cry. First Blood is as emotional as it is action-packed. Number 15, Jaws. I think everyone knows what it's about. A killer shark is terrorizing the beaches, so three men hit the waters to hunt it down. In essence, it's a B horror movie, a simple story about a monster on the loose, but it's done so well. Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, and Robert Shaw are all excellent. You spend so much time with these three characters, you feel like you're on the boat with them. My favorite scene is when they're showing each other their wounds.
You want a drink? Drink to your leg?
I'll drink to your leg.
Okay, so we drink to our legs.
Then the mood changes. Quint tells a bone-chilling story about an experience he had with a killer shark.
When he comes at you, doesn't seem to be living until he bites you. And those black eyes roll over white, and then...
Next thing, they're singing.
Show me the way to go home.
And then all of a sudden they're being attacked by the shark. It all happens in one scene. Jaws is one hell of a ride. It's Spielberg at his finest. Number 14, this is Spinal Tap.
What do you call this?
Well, this piece is called Lick My Love Pump.
It's the story of a musically pretentious and unoriginal rock band, Spinal Tap. It's shot in the style of a documentary with a fictional director and a fictional band.
The review you had on Shark Sandwich, which was merely a two-word review, just said, shit sandwich.
And follows the rise and fall of their career. Their drummers keep dying, they're cursed with a dismal black album cover.
It's like, how much more black could this be? And the answer is none.
They get lost on the way to stage, their stage props go wrong, and eventually they're reduced to an opening act for a puppet show.
I do not for one think that the problem was that the band was down. I think that the problem may have been that there was a Stonehenge monument on the stage that was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf.
I have to admit, it took me a few times to really get this movie, but now I think it's one of the funniest things I ever saw in my life. Even though Spinal Tap are all actors, they've actually recorded albums, played live concerts, appear on talk shows, and recorded the DVD commentary track in character.
Oh, that's great.
I recognize it.
Stop. No, it's getting too small.
It's opened up a whole world for Spinal Tap outside the movie, which is always just as funny as ever. Of all the rock documentaries, this one says it all. Even though it's not real, it shows all the things that could go wrong with a band and parodies the whole genre perfectly. Number 13, Ed Wood. I've definitely talked about this movie enough already. It's the story of the B-movie king, Ed Wood, who's famous for making some of the worst films of all time.
And cut. Perfect. Print it.
Even though his films were not commercially successful, his heart was in the right place, and he never gave up. Johnny Depp gives a great performance as Ed Wood, This was one of the first movies I saw him in before he got super famous. Martin Landau plays Bela Lugosi. He's so good, it's like Lugosi has come back from the grave.
If you want to make out with a young lady, take her to see Dracula.
Tim Burton directs and gives it his unique style. It comes off as being deeply personal. It's a portrait of a rebel, an eccentric director who's obsessed with his own art. It makes fun of Ed Wood just as much as it celebrates him, and in general, all artists who fight for their visions. Number 12, Gremlins. It was a clever little idea. It takes a regular B-movie plot, you know, like a normal town gets invaded by monsters. There's only one person who knows about it. He tries to warn the authorities, but they don't believe him, and then a mass attack takes place involving a huge rampage through the town. It has all the shock cliches, like something jumping out from the background or from the foreground, but it's a comedy. Even though the Gremlins are terrible little bastards, they have a fun-loving personality. They just want to have a party and go nuts, at the cost of humanity. This is a movie where you cheer for the monsters. That's not to say you don't care for the human characters, too. Billy and his pet Gizmo make great protagonists. If it hadn't been for them, you wouldn't mind seeing all the humans die. What's so ingenious is how it starts like a family film with Gizmo as the gremlin, but then we meet the bad gremlins and shit goes off the wall. It mixes horror with comedy and entertains the living fuck out of you. Number 11, Vertigo. Hands down, best Alfred Hitchcock film. Jimmy Stewart plays Scotty, a detective who suffers from acrophobia, fear of heights. One of his fellow police officers dies because of him, so he retires from the force. As a favor for an old friend, he accepts one last job to watch over a suicidal woman. He desperately falls in love with her and tries to save her from the top of a steeple where he is once again conflicted by his acrophobia. I won't reveal the rest of the plot because it'll take forever and I'll spoil it. Besides, the story cannot be explained because it's not about what's literally happening on the surface. It's about what's going on in Scotty's mind, how he's obsessing over this woman and going completely insane. It has a magnetic power. It starts out slow and gradually pulls you in. Check in for part 3 as I count down my top 10.
It's over, Johnny. It's over!
Nothing is over!